Pinkertons Ghosts is a horror anthology podcast by Superversive Radio, with no affiliation with any detective agency, person, real or imagined, or the dark forces of Outre Terre. It is not intended for children.
This is Jim Donavan. The time is 9 p.m. on a Saturday. I'm in my new house in the office. You should see it, Control. Floor-to-ceiling bookcases, a nice kitchen, secret passageways to both the basement beneath the house and the outside. I'll tell you they exist, but I'm not going to tell you where they are, just in case this message ever falls into the wrong hands. Like Jack's. I received a call from Lily, the gorgeous woman who had been staying with the couple from the Sins of the Father case. She's the one that had been dating Mordred Padam. It was cryptic, her message. Her grandmother owned a cattle ranch in Santa Clarita, and a lot of the cows had been lost in the recent fire. And apparently there was some thing out there killing cows even after the fire had been stopped. Several cow corpses had been found exsanguinated. Been a long time since I had a farm call. Used to be that was the majority of what I respond to, but I've been getting more urban than rural spookies ever since the purge. I was a little surprised that Lily called me. Based on her association with Mordred, I, of course, assumed a trap of some kind. I had taken my car up to Santa Clarita. New Lexus. Well, new to me, she's a 2005. Still, runs better than my POS Camry. Plus, she has air conditioning, which is a major win. Santa Clarita is a bit of an oddity. It is a city in northwestern Los Angeles County, and is surrounded by about 20 miles of desert on all sides. Most people, when they think of LA, don't think of the desert. But LA County is statistically as much open desert as it is festering pools of humanity. Santa Clarita also has the unique distinction of being one of the least liberal cities in LA County, which means that there are a lot of good barbecue joints in the city, and always lots of good country music and line dancing. I once dated a girl who tried to teach me how to do line dancing. Wonder how she's doing. Anyway, irrelevant. The ranch was in northwestern Santa Clarita, which is technically outside the city limits. It was only a couple hundred head of dairy cows. What I did not realize was that it was also a movie ranch. Basically, LA has about 10 or 15 ranches set up around Santa Clarita and other outskirt areas, where they can shoot outside without the worry of having to cordon off a real ranch or real city street. These are also where lots of westerns get shot. Can't be too far from Hollywood. Might meet something real. I drove to the front door of what I think was some sort of house. Looked more like a trailer that had lost its wheels. Knocked on the door. I heard shouting and cussing as a pair of loud dogs started barking at me through the door. I think it was a female on the other side of the door. But if so, she'd had to have smoked a carton a day since she was 6. Finally, the door opened a crack, but I kept hearing thuds as dogs hurled their body at the door. The chain was across the door. "Yeah," she said. This tiny woman couldn't have been 5 feet tall, wearing a sweatshirt and sweatpants that were the same awful color of gray. At one point, there was a logo on the sweatshirt, but that had faded long ago. It was impossible to distinguish the smell of old cigarettes lingering in the air from the fresh cigarette dangling from her lips.
"Are you here for the cable? I can't watch my stories anymore ever since a cow stampeded through the satellite box."
No, ma'am. I'm here about the dead cows. Your granddaughter Lily sent me?
Ah, hell. That girl needs to learn to mind her own business. Tain't nothing but an aspergillum of holy water can't cure.
Excuse me?
Yep. One of them sumbitches from the movie up and died on my ranch after he fell out of a building or got shot by a real bullet or something. I don't know, I don't care. He's causing trouble. If you want to try to get rid of him before I have to call a priest, go on ahead. I ain't a Catholic, so I'd rather not go through one of them, if you get my drift.
Okay, why don't you show me the last place the ghost struck, or whatever?
Alright, but you mind yourself while I get my boots on. I don't want you thinking you can take advantage of me in my delicate state.
Never crossed my mind, ma'am. She opened her door and the 2 dogs pounced on me. Thankfully, they were louder than they were vicious and proceeded to jump up and lick me.
Brutus! Cassius! Don't go mauling the nice man. Not unless he makes a move at my silverware drawer.
I kept my eyes focused on the dogs, mostly to keep them from licking me on the lips. I love dogs, don't get me wrong, but nothing is grosser than doggy slobber. After a minute, she came back out and walked outside with the dogs, cigarette still firmly on her lips.
Ah, shoot, where are my manners? You want one?
She pulled out a smushed box that looked like it contained 3 cigarettes. No thanks, I said. I'm trying to quit. I've never smoked in my life, Control. I got the feeling she was the type who wouldn't appreciate that answer, though.
What are you, a queer then?
She cast me a sideways, suspicious look. No, ma'am. I have a girlfriend, in fact. Even significantly taller than her, I had to lengthen my stride to catch up with this little woman. We walked for a few minutes, her passing off her opinions on anyone and everything that had ever wronged her. Someone cut her off in traffic in 1953, and she hasn't forgotten the exact slurs she used that day. By the way, I could not tell what race this woman was. She might have been white, Latina, or a light-skinned African-American. The smoke and years of living out in the sun had made her an oddity. We stopped before an old barn.
Right in there, that's where the man got shot. It was supposed to be a fake gun, but someone switched out the bullets or something. I reckon the poor bastard hasn't had a moment's rest ever since, what with all the cows he mutilates and the PAs he spooks.
Are you Lily's biological grandma? I said, utterly unbelieving the disparity between what I had seen and what I was seeing. Lily was a dime. This woman was a wooden nickel.
Probably. I ain't never done one of them tests or nothing. Hey, you want to see where that guy that got killed died? A lot of blood. Haven't had the chance to clean it up after the coroner took the body.
I jumped with a start. This was the first I had heard about a human death. I figured the best bet to get the whole story was to play along. Sure, I said. I'm so eloquent. I spent most of my brain power trying not to mimic the old woman's accent. Her words drilled into me.
Right this way, sweetie.
She walked me to an area of the ranch we hadn't been to yet. It was full of empty buildings from the Wild West, probably the movie set. There was all manner of film and equipment just abandoned. The sensitive stuff was loaded up into vans by hurrying grips or other union types. Everyone looked at the old woman in terror. They did not look at the stain that was covering everything. I could see outlines of people on the walls of saloons. Did the poor bastard just detonate or something? This wasn't dying.
Yeah,
she said.
Couple days ago, some kid from Pennsylvania got himself killed by the ghostie. Kind of a stupid kid if you ask me.
But you watch the film or something?
I always watch every set that comes on my property. It's part of the contract they sign. Been doing it that way ever since my husband passed.
Lung cancer? I asked, sympathetically.
Nah, he got murdered a long time ago. Dummy never could mind his own business. Anyway, this is the place the kid died.
She gestured to a saloon. Well, she gestured to the blood pool in front of the saloon.
You gonna do some magic or something?
Yes, ma'am. How did you know that?
Lily told me you was coming. Forgot to tell you. Anyway, careful working that hocus pocus round here. We're set dead upon a ley line, so it might be more powerful than you expect.
I turned to ask her how she knew about ley lines, but she had clearly been walking and talking because I didn't see her anywhere. Still, it was a good warning. Ley lines are basically a current of subterranean magic that's in a physical form that kind of flows through the earth. They're supposedly where Tir na Nog intersects with the mortal world. So all ley lines are technically fey lines and are controlled by Oberon. All kinds of important places are built on top of ley lines, from the White House to Disneyland.
Wonder my patootie.
Dang that old woman! And her stupid folksy accent. I pulled out the soul stone from my pockets. As it draws its very existence from the Verum Vicio, the realm of magic, the soul stone would be able to act like a circuit breaker between the ley lines and my own fragile human brain. Usually I don't take precautions. It's tedious to do things safely. But if I didn't want to throw a blood clot in my brain, I figured this would be the perfect time to do things the right way. I sat down with the stone in front of me, closed my eyes, and gradually opened myself to the threads of power. I could immediately feel the rush of power surge through my body. The vicinity with the ley line was surging through this property. Living in LA, I was a bit used to the proximity with ley lines, but there's a difference between a place being coincidentally placed near a line and one that was deliberately placed directly on it. After letting my mind and body get used to the flow of magic surging through me, I gradually opened my eyes. I could see swirls of the past echo through the place. I watched as Yul Brynner effortlessly jumped onto a horse's back. I watched as Jimmy Stewart drawled his slow, ponderous way through some lines. And I saw John Wayne shoot 6 or 7 extras in an outrageous scene of prolonged violence. All these shadows and eddies flowed around me in a span of a single eye blink. There were other, more mundane happenings that occurred. A director in billowing pants with a megaphone would shout lines. A harried PA would run to and fro, trying to reach some important bigwig on a walkie-talkie. I watched as someone from catering handed out paninis and remembered that I hadn't eaten yet today. As time was swirling around me in an inconstant consistency, I watched as a ragged man, more colorful than all the rest in some sort of costume, stormed angrily onto the scene. I don't know if you've ever seen a non-metaphorical ghost, Control, but it's always a contrast with itself. The will is there, but the life is gone. The colors are there, the costume, but those colors fade at the edges. Who he was is here, but it's a dull, stained mirror of it. I watched as a man with a headset ran through him, and then the ephemeral man swelled with anger, reached through the other man's chest, grabbed his heart, and squeezed. Next time Lily calls, I'm going to ask more questions. I can't work like this. Sorry, Control, I'm beating around the bush. Because, oh boy, what comes next? Ghosts do not possess the sheer will or power to directly kill people. Sometimes they can frighten, and the effects of being frightened can cause heart attacks, but never direct violence. If someone has a guardian angel, forget it. If someone is holy or innocent, nothing's going to happen to them. At worst, they might think they were exposed to some hypnotism, maybe a little trickery. This guy should have only caused a heart attack. I saw the defib pads next to a staff table and first aid kit. I know there was a medic on staff. This should have been survivable. Then again, a heart attack may be more broad a term than I thought. Let me be specific. Blood burst out of the man like a waterfall, or more accurately, a burst pipe. His eyes, ears, nose, mouth, fingertips, worse, let loose every liquid that man had in him all at once. Most of all, the blood. It spread, splashing around hapless temps, interns, even some of the important people. A grip slipped on the blood and the camera knocked down the director, who screamed for makeup with all his might. Screams. Puking. More and more people joined in the panic, like the shockwave of an explosion. I don't think I'm going to investigate how those cows died, for my own sanity. As the event played out before me, I stopped watching the forceful exsanguination and instead paid attention to the ghost. He noticed, staring first at me, then becoming more real. He looked at his hands, confused, frightened. He looked at me and spoke. Did I do that? Time for the dead is on a different track than it is for the rest of us. As far as he knew, this had just happened. I'd been standing here the whole time. Yeah, I'm sorry to say, you did just kill a man. Ghosts don't have the intellect a working brain provides. It's best to use simple terms. But, no, wait. I can't have. I'm not a murderer. This man, he never did anything to me. Lady that owns this place said you died in a stunt gone bad. I'm dead? So time was so confused for him that he was still in the moment of his death. That honestly made sense. People get pretty mixed up when they die, if there isn't a guardian angel to carry them to heaven. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think this is your fault, but now, well, what happens from here on out will be. I don't want to be a murderer. Look, I said, you can't change the past, but we can fix the future. You need to let go, to move on. I don't know what that will be for you, but you have to go to your next location. What if it's hell? He said, more than a little bit afraid. I'm not the judge. I don't know where you're going, friend. If I let If I let go, I'm going to hell, he said with the certainty of the damned. And if you stay here, you risk hurting more people. This place, I think the veil between life and death is thin here. If you stay, more people are going to get hurt. And if I go, I'll go to hell, he said, getting more and more angry by the second. What's your name, friend? Kyle. Kyle Collane. Okay, Kyle. Maybe I can offer you an alternative. Can't believe I was going to do this, but I guess I was doing the poor guy a favor. I can offer you a stay of judgment. You're afraid that God will judge you and you'll go to hell, but I can take you into this crystal. I held up the soul stone. And you will help me do lots of incredibly good things. Who knows? I think I've helped more people than I've killed, so maybe the good work I do through your sacrifice will make you look good at the end of the world, when everyone's judged. I honestly didn't think that would work, but willing entrance into the stone powered up more than the unwilling. I didn't need it. The soul stone couldn't run out that easily, but I didn't want to force him into the stone when he was just staying on Earth because he was afraid of hell. You know, timor mortis conturbat me. The fear of death frightens me. Besides, if I forestalled what dreams may come, then who knows? It really was the kind thing to do. So I may not have to go to hell if I go with you? He asked, confused, and justifiably so. He was just getting used to the idea that he was dead, and here I was introducing him to metaphysical solutions he'd never even known the possibility to. Yeah, you know, it's possible. Don't want to get your hopes up too high, but yeah. Control, you don't know what the Almighty will do on Judgment Day. Even Sean with his weird Catholic mumbo-jumbo about purgatory. Heck, he'd probably agree with me. I held up the soul stone. Yeah, okay. How do I do it? Well, I started, relieved that I hadn't further angered a ghost on the edge of rage against death. You're going to feel a pulling sensation. That's normal. You're going to want to pull against it. Don't. Let go and I'll do the rest. Okay. I can do that. Hey, can you tell my wife something? Yeah, Kyle. Tell me what you want your wife to know. I'll make sure it gets to her. Tell her I've been cheating on her with her sister. I didn't mean to, it's just she was there, and my wife wasn't. Okay, Kyle, I'll tell her. I lied. Lady had enough to deal with, grieving her husband's death. This wouldn't help the poor woman. I looped a thread of reality from the soul stone and tied it to his wrist. I just used one loop. Didn't want the tug to feel too strong. Slowly but surely his hand drifted up and floated towards the stone. As it got closer, he tried to pull back. No, wait, I don't want to go in there, he shouted. His ghost tried to run from me. I expected this. There's no need to force him. I had a few loops ready for him. I slipped 2 more on the wrist, 1 on the opposite foot, 1 around his neck. He fought with all his might, but he was still a baby ghost. He didn't know how to resist the pull. Didn't take long before his hand touched the crystal. And the second it did, his resistance against my lines stopped. He got pulled in, body and soul. The soul stone's ethereal glow intensified 5-fold. I walked back the way I'd come with the old woman. The trailer was still standing there. I half expected it to be gone, or, a tornado or something in its place. Instead, I found a note on the door.
Dear Mr. Fancy Pants, I felt you did something to that poor fella. Don't know what you did, but the ranch feels more calm and quiet. Thanks. Anyway, left you an envelope full of cash in the mailbox. Don't you touch my mail. Anyway, I reckon you did good work. Lily thanks you and all. Don't be a stranger now.
I am really confused about what happened, Control. It was a case that came through weird back channels, and it didn't involve any actual violence. I didn't have to find some complex or odd solution to the problem, either. Maybe I'm just getting good at this. I don't know. Either way, it's nice to have an easy case every once in a while. I called Lily when I got home, but I got the old, "This number has been disconnected" message. Not sure what I expected. Either way, I'm glad I was able to get a mostly willing soul into the stone. That should make the next few weeks or so a lot easier, no matter how much magic I sling. Until next time, this is Jim Donavan. Over and out.
Pinkerton's Ghosts is a podcast distributed by Superversive Radio, licensed under an attribution non-commercial, share-alike international license. This episode was written by Dickason and performed by the same. Ben Wheeler edits, directs, produces, and herds cats. Dickason performs our audio editing. Visit us on Facebook, read articles on superversivesf.com, or listen to us on unauthorized Acast, iTunes, or Spotify. Contact us through Twitter at @PinkertonsGhosts, email us at pinkertonsghosts@gmail.com, or send us noble messenger possums with messages strapped to their backs. Don't worry, they know how to find us. Thank you for listening, and good luck.